I have a cast and crew behind me watching me. He's doing great work. Hey, how's it going? Today we're going to talk about some interesting stuff with Nintendo and all the things that they got themselves into. Now, the company was formed in 1889, and before Mario, they tried to sell everything under the sun. We're talking goods and services that no sane man would, or sane woman would link the company to besides their video games. It would be impossible to list everything that Nintendo tried to get rid of. I mean, it would be impossible to list everything Nintendo tried to sell, but pretty much it was quite extraordinary to say the least. They had to find their niche some way, and they certainly took a right and left path of finding their ways. Nintendo's first major customer were, of course, the Yakuza, Japanese organized crime syndicate long before the company made video games. Nintendo specialized in making playing cards, and their biggest customers were the illegal casinos run by the Yakuza. It was an open secret, to say the least. Nintendo barely even tried to hide it, how they were using their cards. In fact, it was right there in their name. The name Nintendo is an allusion to gambling that roughly translates to "in the end." It is in heaven's hands. Some think the name even holds a deeper meaning. According to some Yakuza members, Nintendo's name from the start was a subtle reference to Ninkyo, the Yakuza concept of chivalry. From the very moment the business started, they were linked to the Japanese mob. Now you'll see Mario differently, I'm sure. Nintendo made a fortune selling playing cards. They quickly became the biggest card company in Japan. They even got the contract for Disney's officially licensed playing cards in 1959. Believe it or not, Nintendo still sells their old playing cards today, and they're still the biggest card manufacturer in Japan. Nintendo hasn't always been a family-friendly company as well, of course. In the 1960s, they went through a weird phase as sex and pornography. It all started shortly after Hiroshi Yashima took over the company. He was young, he dropped out of school to take the reins of his grandfather's company, and he was worried about how all the old-timers would take his new ideas. So naturally, he fired everybody before they could complain. Way to go, he's the Godzilla of that time. To be fair, he was right. When they heard his ideas, they probably would have quit anyway. Under his new management, the company started releasing new lines of pornographic playing cards, with a different naked lady on each card. They even released a special line with Marilyn Monroe's Playboy pictures on every card. Then they moved into love hotels. Pay-by-the-hour hotels run in red light district for prostitutes to meet up with their customers or for two lovers to discreetly have sex. Nintendo's love hotels didn't make any money, but at the time rumors had it that Yashima only set them up so that he could use them for free. Clever. He wasn't only Nintendo's best president, he was best customer. The love hotel chain wasn't the first random idea Nintendo had. The first way Yashima tried to expand his company past just making playing cards was moving into the instant rice company. Yashima had noticed how many people bought instant noodles, and he became convinced that he could make a fortune by doing this. So he started the whole line of Nintendo fast food by setting up individually sized dehydrated bowls of rice in the grocery store. Clever. If people would buy instant noodles, he figured just imagine how many people would buy instant rice. The answer, it turned out, was nobody. Nintendo lost a fortune on their instant rice idea, probably in part because his brilliant idea already existed and was already being sold by companies that had actually made food before. He was desperate to try anything though. Yashima had a minor panic attack when he visited the US playing card company and saw they were working out of a small office and barely running a profit. Playing cards, he was starting to realize, might not stay the wild craze with the forever youth. He was willing to try anything, except putting the new playing cards into the rice itself. The first time Nintendo managed to run a profit on something that wasn't playing cards was when they opened their own taxi company. It was called Deya, and it actually made them some money. And they rode that wave of success for a solid month or two before it all collapsed again. As it turned out, the only reason Nintendo's taxi service was profitable was that they didn't bother paying their employees a living wage. Their employees were starving so badly that they barely put up with it for a month before unionizing and picketing for a better pay. They should have just got the instant rice. Nintendo couldn't both run a profitable taxi company and pay their employees enough money to buy food, so they gave it all up. And yet another of their business adventures fell apart. This one didn't even survive a full year, unfortunately. Too bad they didn't have Taxi Driver video game back then. Before they settled on video games, Nintendo tried their hand on a lot of toys as well. Pretty well everything you could imagine. Nintendo made many board games, puzzles, baseball launchers, seesaws, and even baby strollers, working off a business model that apparently was just to throw everything imaginable on the dartboard. The one that got them in trouble though was N&B Block, their version of Lego. Nintendo took the best ideas behind Lego and gave them a creative new twist. They scratched the word Lego off the box and put in the word Nintendo instead. Other than the name N&B Block pieces were pretty much identical to the Lego pieces. The two companies' bricks are compared above. The only difference was that the connectors of the bottom of Nintendo blocks, instead of being shaped like circles, were shaped like semicircles. That change wasn't meant to be an improvement. It was done purely just to keep Lego from suing them. It didn't work. Lego sued them hard. Nintendo, to be fair, hadn't exactly been subtle about the whole thing. Their ads were usually just pictures of a pissed off kid complaining about having Lego sets, while his far happier friend played the Nintendo N&B blocks. Nintendo actually ended up winning the lawsuit, but it didn't matter. Their Lego knockoff went out of business anyway, of course. They were so poorly made that anything you built would fall apart in the slightest of breeze. It's funny now they work together. Nintendo's first big success was the Nintendo Love Tester. In 1969, thus Love Tester, they came out with their own version of the machine that's graced dive bars and bowling alleys in the world's dirtier hovels for years. Their Love Tester had two electrodes, and you and your significant other were each supposed to grab an end while staring lovely into one another's eyes. The dial on the machine would go up to tell you how much you are in true love capabilities of one another, although in reality it was mostly just testing your heart rate. The creator explained his invention in the creepiest way imaginable. The Love Tester came from me wondering if I could somehow use this to get girls to hold my hand. He explained. I wound up holding hands with quite a few girls thanks to it. Then, apparently worried he hadn't made people uncomfortable enough, he threw in, of course. Somewhere along the line, I started to feel like I wanted to do more than just hold hands. And as weird as it is, Nintendo's Love Tester was the first product that ever successfully sold a board, and it returned to the market in 2010. Talk about a hand job for Nintendo. One of the first programmable electronic drum machines ever made was created by Nintendo. It was the LE Contra, and it came out in 1972, the exact same year as the drum machine that usually gets the credit for being first. Nintendo's electronic drum machine looked like a little bongo set, with 5 buttons on top, which you could tap to play little sounds. Their most revolutionary idea, though, was called the Auto Player, a little add-on that let you program your own beats to the machine. The drum machine came with punch cards as well, that you could put on a wheel that told the drum what to do. You had to turn a little hand crank to get it going, so it didn't exactly free musicians up to do anything else, but it was a start. It even came with a strap and a way to plug it into an amp so that you could rock live anywhere you go. There was a brief period in the late 1970s when Nintendo made household supplies as well. Someone in your household could buy their own Nintendo Shiritori, the Nintendo vacuum cleaner. It was actually a pretty unique little invention. Nintendo's vacuum cleaner was a remote controlled device, so you could sit back and relax while you play the vacuum. It even looked like an early version of the Roomba. It still didn't even sell very well, though. As nifty as the gimmick was, the vacuum cleaner didn't suck. It just sucked on all sorts of imagine. The tiny little vacuum cleaner could barely pick up anything at all. Even small things it would just spew back out, even dust. They moved so slowly as well that it would take the better part of a day to clean a single room. They were mostly made just for fun. They even came with the cute little sticker eyes so that you could give your vacuum cleaner a personality. How cute. I'm sure that's where Yoshi came from. Nintendo had a whole office equipment division during the 1970s as well. For a few years, Nintendo was your one-stop shop for discount office supplies. They made clocks, paper, and everything you can imagine from Office Depot. They usually had pretty unique gimmicks for each item. They sold storage shelves that clicked together like Lego bricks. Each one came with a secret panel as well, and a set of handkerchiefs so that at any moment you could impress your friends by making the handkerchief magically appear. They even made a photocopying machine. It was called the Nintendo Coplius, and it was a knockoff discount of Xerox machines, specially designed to be one of the cheapest photocopiers on the market. Sort of anyway, Nintendo's business model was to make a cheap photocopier that ran out of ink and broke down nearly as soon as you bought it. They gave it away for the next to nothing price of nothing, but made sure that you'd come crawling back for maintenance supplies every couple of weeks. Smart strategy. Good job, Nintendo. The Ultra Hand may not sound like much, but it was a big deal for Nintendo. It was one of those expendable toy claws you can use to grab things, sort of like that stick you used to reach in a Walmart store for the $5 section. And believe it or not, it saved the company in the last 1960s. Nintendo sold more than 1 million of these things, right at the point when their stocks were at a dive point, straight from bankruptcy. It was the invention that put the company back on the grid. Nintendo would even make video games from this product itself. The inventor Gunpei, who started off as the company's janitor, made the Ultra Hand for fun. In his spare time, of course. After he brought it up to the CEO of the company made so much money that they made it a policy to greenlight any idea Yoki proposed. That was a huge moment for the company because that former janitor would end up pitching the Game & Watch system, Nintendo's first video game system. He would also create the Nintendo Game Boy as well. That was the turning point in the company's history, an extending claw that let you grab things from the high shelves. And if Nintendo hadn't sold it, they never would have made a single video game. Thankfully, janitors all around the world are very appreciative since one janitor certainly made history in video games like the Game Boy. What is your favorite Nintendo invention and what is your favorite Nintendo video game? I love Super Mario Brothers, and also Mario Kart, and also Zelda, and Earthbound. I don't know if that's Nintendo, but anyway. Thanks for watching. Have a great one. Bye.